Hi, fifth graders. Today's topics are scientific notation, adding whole numbers, and subtracting whole numbers. We're going to start off with scientific notation. So scientific notation for this specific worksheet, it wants us to expand it because it's already in its compressed form. As you can see, it says times 10 to a number, which in this case for number 6 is to the third. And it gives us 1.7. So we're going to write down number 6. It gives us 1.7, right? And it has our decimal point here. However, it's to 10 to the third power, right? So since it's to the third power, we're going to move this decimal point to the right 3 times. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to place our decimal point right there. And in these spaces, we're going to put in this placeholder 0. So in its expanded form, it will be 1700. It's very simple. You just need to move the decimal point to the right to the same number of times as the number up here, the exponent. So in this case, it was 10 cubed, so we moved the decimal point to the right 3 times. And 1700 was your final answer. As for the second worksheet, it says scientific notation continued, but it gives you the expanded form of the numbers. So it wants us to compress it back into the forms like this. So we're going to want to put it in like the decimal times 10 to a number. In case of number 9, we're going to have 19,000. And I forgot to mention, but in scientific notation, it's always gonna be a number, decimal number, and then it's gonna be times 10 to n. So it's gonna be, there has to be a decimal. So there needs to be a number in front of the decimal at all times. So this is the more important rule that you need to remember. It needs to have a number in front of the decimal, and then you could do the rest times 10 to the whatever number. So we're gonna do number 9 together. It gives us 19,000. So, and I said that I need a number in front of the decimal point. So we're gonna have 1 in front of the decimal point, and then we're gonna bring down the 9. And you can choose to have the zeros after the 9, but it's better not to because it looks a little bit messy if you have it. Unless you have like other numbers. But in this case, there are only zeros, so you don't need to put the 3 zeros after the 9. So if we have the decimal point here, and we need to move it back all the way so that all the numbers are in front of the decimal point. So we're going to have to go back once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. So in order to have everything in front of the decimal, we need to move the decimal right here, which I said there needs to be a number in front of, to the right 4 times. So it's going to be 1.9 times 10 to the 4th power. And that should be your final answer. So I'm going to box it. So just remember that when you're compressing, you need to have a number in front of the decimal, and that the number of the n is equal to the number of times you have to go back for that decimal, from that decimal. Now we're going to do adding whole numbers. We're going to do number 9 together. And adding for this one, it gives you the equation like set up neatly like this. So we're just going to go down, up, like I usually do. So we're going to start from the ones place, and it goes 5 plus 4, which is 9. And there's no tens place, so we don't need to worry about bringing it up here. Now we do 8 plus 5, which is 13. So we're going to bring down 3 here, and we're going to bring up the 1, which is in the tens place, to the hundreds place. So we're going to bring it right there. So it's going to be 1 plus 5, which is 6, and 6 plus 2, which is 8. Now, once again, we don't have a tens place, so we don't need to worry about bringing it up. But wait, there's commas here, right? So we're going to put a comma here, and then we're going to go from the hundreds place to the thousands place right here. So this little place is just to remind you to put your commas. And as I said before, from the 8, there was no tens place, so we don't need to worry about bringing up anything over here to the thousands place. So we're just going to do 5 plus 1, which is 6. And then once again, there's no tens place, so we're not going to bring anything up here to the 10,000s, which is 8 plus 6, which is 14. So we're going to bring down the 4 here, but we're going to bring up the 1 from the tens place to the 100,000s place. And we get 1 plus 7, which is 8. So your final answer should be 846,839. And make sure that, and it's important that all your numbers are lined up like this. So the ones places are lined up, the tens places are lined up, the hundreds places are lined up, and you can have your commas lined up if you want, but you don't really need to as long as you know the order. Your thousands place are lined up, your 10,000s place are lined up, and your 100,000s place are lined up. Now we're going to move on to subtracting whole numbers. So it's the same thing except we're subtracting now. So we're going to once again start in the ones place. 7 minus 3, which is 4. And then we don't need to borrow anything because 7 was greater than 3, right? And then once again, 3 is greater than 1, so we don't need to worry about borrowing anything from the hundreds place. 3 minus 1 is 2. Now we move on to the hundreds place. And we have 6 minus 8. And now that's not possible, right? So we're going to need to borrow from the hundreds place. But there's a comma here, so we're going to put a comma, and then we're going to skip to the hundreds place again. So we're going to have to borrow 10 from the hundreds place. So we're going to borrow 10, and this one's going to become a 2, and this one's going to become a 16. So now we get 16 minus 8, which is 8. Now we go back here, and 2 is less than 9, right? So we're going to have to borrow from, I'm sorry, I meant you have to borrow a 10 from the thousands place, not the hundreds place. And from the thousands place, we need to borrow from the 10,000s place. So we're going to borrow 10, we're going to borrow a 10 again, or 100. And we're going to get 1 here, and we're going to get 12 here, right? So we're going to get 12 minus 9, which is 3. And when we go to the 10,000s place, we see that it's 1 minus 1, and you don't need to borrow from the 100,000s because 1 minus 1 is possible. So, and which is 0. And then we're going to move to the 100,000s place, which is just 4. So we're going to put down the 4 here. So when you're subtracting whole numbers, you need to be careful about having to borrow from the next place over. And in this case, the final answer for number 6 is 403,824. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this video helped you guys a bit.